A husky trapped beneath solid ice in mid-20 degrees Fahrenheit weather for 6 straight hours should be dead. Every law of survival says it's impossible. But what happened next will shatter everything you think you know about the will to live. While rescue teams raced against time using specialized ice-cutting equipment, something extraordinary was happening 4 feet beneath the frozen surface. This wasn't just about saving a dog. It was about witnessing a miracle that defied nature itself. What you're about to see will change how you understand survival, loyalty, and the incredible power of instinct. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because stories like this don't come around often. This is Maya's story, and it starts with a single crack that changed everything. The morning air bites with that particular cruelty only Alaska knows. A cold so sharp it makes your lungs ache and your eyes water before you've taken 3 steps outside. At -20 degrees, the world becomes a different place entirely. Every breath creates a small cloud that hangs in the air for just a moment before the wind snatches it away. This is the world Maya was born for. She bounds ahead of Jack Peterson, her massive paws finding perfect purchase on ice that would send most dogs skittering and sliding. Her coat, thick enough to make a polar bear jealous, ripples with each powerful stride. Those piercing blue eyes scan the horizon like she's reading a map written in snow and shadow. This 3-year-old Siberian Husky isn't just running. She's conducting a symphony with the wilderness itself. The lake stretches before them like a frozen ocean, its surface a deceptive mirror that reflects the pale morning sky. What Jack sees is beauty, endless white punctuated by the distant peaks of the Alaska Range. What he doesn't see are the hairline fractures spider-webbing beneath the surface, invisible signatures of the unusually warm week they've just endured. The ice looks solid, sounds solid under their footsteps, but nature is keeping her secrets today. Jack adjusts his camera strap and watches Maya disappear into her element. He'd moved to Alaska for moments exactly like this, when the wild calls to something primal inside you and you have no choice but to answer. A wildlife photographer by trade, he'd spent years chasing that perfect shot, that moment when the natural world reveals itself completely. But Maya had taught him something different. Sometimes the most profound moments can't be captured through a lens. 2 years ago, Maya was a different dog entirely. Jack remembers walking through that Anchorage shelter, past cage after cage of abandoned animals, when he saw her. She was curled in the back corner, overweight and listless, her magnificent coat dull and matted. The shelter worker had shaken her head sadly. Beautiful dog, but the family couldn't handle her energy. She's been here 6 months now, getting depressed, I think. But Jack saw something else in those blue eyes, a wildness that hadn't been broken, just buried. He'd knelt down and whispered, "You don't belong in here, do you, girl?" Maya had lifted her head for the first time in weeks. The transformation hadn't been immediate. It took months of careful conditioning, building her strength mile by mile, earning her trust one run at a time. Jack had to learn her language, the way her ears twitched when she caught an interesting scent, how her tail position telegraphed her mood, the particular dance she did when she was ready to run until her lungs burned. He'd studied Siberian Husky genetics, learned that these dogs were bred by the Chukchi people of Siberia to run hundreds of miles in conditions that would kill most living things. Maya carried 10,000 years of Arctic survival in her DNA. This morning ritual, their sacred hour on the frozen lake, represents everything they'd built together. Jack calls it their church service, though he's never been a religious man. There's something holy about watching a creature fulfill its deepest purpose. 40 miles away, Sarah Chen is reviewing ice rescue protocols she's memorized backward and forward. As lead rescue specialist for Alaskan Emergency Services, she's pulled dozens of people from water cold enough to stop a heart in minutes. Her equipment trailer is always packed. Immersion suits, throw ropes, hypothermia kits, and the ice rescue sled that saved more lives than she can count. But in all her years of service, she's never attempted a rescue after someone had been underwater for hours. Her training manual is clear. 30 minutes in water, this cold, is survivable with immediate medical intervention. Beyond that, you're looking at a recovery mission. Sarah doesn't know it yet, but her phone is about to ring. Dr. Mike Townsend has seen the statistics. He knows what happens when a mammal's core temperature drops below 90 degrees. The body begins shutting down non-essential functions, blood flow redirects to protect vital organs, and consciousness fades as the brain conserves its remaining energy. He's treated hypothermia cases before. The shivering that becomes so violent it looks like seizures, the confusion that makes victims fight their rescuers, the way their skin turns a blue-gray that haunts your dreams. His clinic is already stocked with warming blankets and IV fluids, but experience tells him these preparations are probably too late. The science is unforgiving. Water conducts heat 25 times faster than air. At 32 degrees, even an Olympic swimmer has maybe 15 minutes before losing consciousness. But Maya isn't human. Her double coat creates an insulation system that's kept her ancestors alive through Siberian winters that would kill a human in hours. Her body fat percentage, her muscle density, even her blood circulation patterns are different. Still, physics doesn't play favorites. What none of them know yet is that Maya's breeding carries one more genetic gift, something called the mammalian diving reflex, an ancient survival mechanism that slows the heart rate and redirects blood flow when submerged in cold water. It's stronger in some species than others, and in rare cases, it can buy precious minutes that make the difference between life and death. Jack watches Maya streak across the ice, her joy infectious and pure. She's found her perfect pace, not the desperate sprint of a frightened animal, but the measured lope of a creature designed for endurance. Her breathing is controlled, her movements efficient. She's not just running, she's flying. The ice beneath her paws holds secrets it won't reveal for another hour. But for now, in this perfect moment, Maya is exactly who she was born to be. Wild, free, and magnificently alive. The wilderness has accepted her as its own, and she's running toward a destiny none of them can see coming. The crack sounds like the earth itself splitting open, a sharp, violent gunshot that echoes across the frozen wilderness and pierces straight through Jack's chest. 1 second, Maya is chasing that snow rabbit with pure, unbridled joy, her powerful legs eating up the distance across what looks like solid, reliable ice. The next second, she's gone, vanished, swallowed by the lake as if she never existed at all. The black water opens like a hungry mouth and closes just as quickly. Jack screams her name with a desperation that strips his throat raw, but the sound disappears into the vast Alaskan silence. He crashes toward the edge on his knees, ice shards cutting through his pants, his heart hammering so hard he can taste copper in his mouth. Through the dark water, he can see Maya's pale form, a ghostly shadow swimming frantically beneath a ceiling that's already beginning to seal itself with new ice. She's searching for the opening that brought her down, but the hole is disappearing with each passing second. The surface tension creates a thin membrane that thickens rapidly in the negative 20-degree air. Maya's head bumps against it, once, twice, 3 times. Each impact is weaker than the last. Jack's hands shake so violently he can barely dial 911. His fingers are already going numb, but not from the cold, from pure terror. When the dispatcher answers, his voice cracks like a teenager's. The words tumble out in a rush. GPS coordinates, the lake name, 1 dog underwater, ice thickness unknown. The dispatcher's voice is calm, professional, but Jack hears the subtext in her tone. An hour response time. Maybe longer with the weather moving in. Beneath the surface, Maya faces a choice that will determine everything. Her lungs burn with the need for air, her powerful swimming strokes growing weaker as the water steals her body heat at 25 times the rate air would. But something ancient kicks in. Something written into her DNA by 10,000 years of Arctic survival. Instead of continuing to fight the ice ceiling above, she does something that defies every human instinct. She stops swimming upward and dives deeper. 40 miles away, Sarah Chen is loading her truck with equipment she hopes she'll never need to use. Ice saws, thermal imaging cameras, immersion suits rated for Arctic water rescue. Her team moves with the practiced efficiency of professionals who've done this dance too many times, but there's a heaviness in their movements today. 6 years of ice rescues have taught Sarah to read the signs, and everything about this call screams impossible odds. The drive to the lake takes 38 minutes. 38 minutes during which the ice above Maya continues to thicken. What started as a thin skin becomes a solid barrier, then grows into something that will require power tools to penetrate. Sarah's radio crackles with updates from Jack, whose voice grows more strained with each transmission. He's tried everything, rocks, tree branches, even his own body weight, but the ice won't break. Maya's shadow beneath the surface has grown fainter, harder to see. Dr. Mike Townsend receives the call while suturing a sled dog's paw. He immediately begins calculating survival odds in his head, running through everything he knows about canine hypothermia and cold water drowning. At 32 degrees, Maya's core temperature will drop approximately 2 degrees every 10 minutes. At 90 degrees, her body will begin shutting down non-essential functions. At 85 degrees, cardiac arrest becomes likely. He starts preparing IV warmers and hypothermia protocols, but the math is unforgiving. By the time they extract her, if they extract her, her core temperature will be incompatible with life. When Sarah's team finally arrives, the scene hits her like a physical blow. Jack is lying flat on the ice, his face pressed against the surface, talking to Maya through 6 inches of frozen barrier. His lips are blue, his movements sluggish from his own developing hypothermia, but he refuses to move away from the spot where she went down. His words come out in a stream of promises and pleas that break something inside Sarah's professional composure. The ice saw screams to life, sending chips flying like frozen shrapnel. Each cut requires enormous pressure, and progress is measured in painful fractions of inches. The thermal imaging camera shows a faint heat signature deep beneath the ice, so faint that Sarah has to adjust the sensitivity settings twice to confirm it's really there. Maya is still alive, but her body temperature is dropping toward critical levels. Time becomes the enemy. Every minute that passes is another step closer to the point of no return. Sarah's team works in rotation, one sawing while another rests, but exhaustion sets in quickly in the extreme cold. Their breath creates fog that freezes instantly on their face masks. Their equipment begins to malfunction as metal components contract and lubricants thicken in the brutal temperature. By hour 3, something fundamental shifts in the operation. The hole they've cut is finally large enough, but when Sarah plunges the underwater camera into the black water, Maya is nowhere to be seen. The heat signature on the thermal imaging has faded to almost nothing. Jack's voice, hoarse from hours of calling her name, finally cracks completely. He stops talking and just stares into the dark water with the hollow expression of someone watching hope die in real time. Sarah has been doing rescue work long enough to recognize this moment, the invisible line between rescue and recovery. Her team continues working, but their movements change. The desperate urgency transforms into something more methodical, more resigned. Equipment gets swapped out. The warming blankets and emergency medical kit give way to body recovery gear. The conversation shifts from medical intervention strategies to logistics of extraction and transportation. She makes the call that every rescue leader dreads, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. They're switching protocols. This is no longer about saving a life. The radio traffic changes tone immediately. Dispatch updates the coroner, adjusts the response vehicles, shifts resources to the recovery operation. But Jack refuses to accept this new reality. He remains on the ice, his face now dangerously pale from his own prolonged exposure, repeating the same phrase over and over like a prayer or a mantra. She's down there. She's still down there. Even as his own body begins to shut down from the cold, even as his rational mind understands the statistics, something deeper keeps him anchored to this frozen spot. 6 hours underwater in 32-degree water. The human mind can't process those numbers and still maintain hope. But Jack isn't operating on human logic anymore. He's operating on something more primal, the bond between a man and the animal he pulled from despair, the connection forged through countless morning runs across this same frozen landscape. The wind picks up, driving the wind chill to 40 below. The rescue operation has become a race against multiple clocks now, not just Maya's survival, but the team's own safety as conditions deteriorate rapidly. Dark clouds gather on the horizon, promising a storm that will shut down any recovery efforts for days. Maya has been underwater for 6 hours and 17 minutes when everything changes. 6 hours and 37 minutes. The numbers burn in Sarah's mind as she finally breaks through the last barrier of ice. Her saw blade emerges from the frozen surface, dripping with lake water that instantly begins to freeze in the Arctic air. The hole she's created is barely wide enough for a human body. Its edge is already beginning to crystallize again, but it's enough. It has to be enough. The water below is impossibly clear, so clear she can see straight to the rocky bottom 30 feet down. Empty water, nothing but shadows and stone. Sarah's heart sinks as she adjusts her thermal suit, knowing this dive will join the collection of failures that haunt every rescue worker's dreams. Another beautiful animal lost to Alaska's merciless wilderness. Another family shattered by nature's indifference. She slides into the water and the cold hits her like a physical blow, even through the insulated suit. The shock of it drives the air from her lungs momentarily. If she can feel it through professional-grade thermal protection, Maya has been enduring something unimaginable. The underwater lights cut through the darkness in pale beams, revealing nothing but empty lake bottom and scattered debris. Sarah descends methodically, fighting the part of her mind that's already composing the report she'll have to write. Dog missing, presumed drowned, body not recovered, family devastated. The same tragic story she's written too many times before. Her lights sweep left, then right, illuminating the rocky formations along the lake's edge. Nothing. 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 Then something impossible catches her eye. Wedged between two massive boulders near the far shore, there's a darkness that doesn't belong. Not the uniform shadow of empty water, but something with substance, with shape. Sarah's heart hammers against her ribs as she kicks toward it, her lights growing brighter as the distance closes. The shape resolves into something that makes her question her own eyes. Maya isn't floating lifelessly like every piece of training told Sarah she would be. She's tucked into an air pocket, a tiny cavity between the rocks where trapped air has created a breathing space no bigger than a walk-in closet. The physics shouldn't work. The pressure should have collapsed it hours ago. But there it is, and there is Maya, and Maya is looking directly at her. Those piercing blue eyes that captivated Jack 2 years ago now lock onto Sarah's diving mask with an expression that seems almost amused. Not the desperate, panicked look of a drowning animal, but the patient gaze of a creature who's been waiting. As if Maya is thinking, "What took you so long?" instead of, "Please save me." There's an intelligence in that look that sends chills down Sarah's spine that have nothing to do with the freezing water. Sarah's training kicks in, but her mind rebels against what she's seeing. Maya had done something that violates every survival instinct nature programmed into mammals. Instead of fighting frantically to reach the surface, burning through oxygen and body heat in a panic that would have killed her in minutes, she had gone deeper, found shelter, found a way to wait. Her thick double coat ripples with trapped air bubbles that create an insulation system no human engineer could have designed better. Her breathing is shallow but steady. Her body temperature has dropped just enough to slow her metabolism to hibernation levels without crossing the line into death. Somehow, some impossible evolutionary wisdom had kicked in and saved her life. Sarah's radio crackles to life underwater, her voice distorted but unmistakable as it reaches the surface team. I need immediate medical support. The dog is alive. Repeat, the dog is alive. The response is complete silence. 30 seconds of dead air that stretches like an eternity. Nobody can process what they're hearing. It's too impossible. Too far outside the realm of what should be survivable. As Sarah approaches with the rescue harness, Maya does something that will replay in Sarah's mind for the rest of her life. She calmly pushes off from her air pocket and swims toward the approaching rescuer. No frantic scrambling, no desperate clawing. Just a composed, almost graceful movement through the water, as if she's been patiently waiting for her ride to the surface and it's finally arrived. When they break through together, the cheer from the rescue team echoes across the frozen lake like thunder. Grown men who've seen everything Alaska can throw at them start crying without shame. Jack collapses to his knees so hard the impact cracks the ice, tears freezing on his cheeks before they can fall. His hands reach for Maya with a desperation that's almost religious, touching her fur like he's confirming she's real. She's here, she's alive. Maya shakes the water from her coat with the casual attitude of a dog who's just finished a particularly long swim. She walks to Jack and sits beside him, pressing her warm body against his shaking form as if she's the one providing comfort. As if the last 6 hours were just an extended game of hide-and-seek that she's finally decided to end. Dr. Townsend later calls it the most remarkable case of mammalian cold water survival he's ever documented. Sarah will spend the next year giving lectures about the dive that changed everything she thought she knew about rescue work. But in this moment, none of that matters. In this moment, Jack buries his face in Maya's wet fur and whispers "thank you" over and over until the words lose all meaning and become pure gratitude made sound. And Maya, patient and calm as always, simply waits for him to finish so they can finally go home. Dr. Townsend is prepared for the worst: severe hypothermia, organ failure, neurological damage. Instead, Maya walks into his clinic, defying everything he learned in veterinary school. Her body temperature registers at 96 degrees, only 2 degrees below normal. Her heart rhythm is strong, her breathing controlled, her gums a healthy pink. It's as if she spent 6 hours in a cool bath rather than fighting for her life beneath Arctic ice. The air pocket explains her survival mechanics, but Maya's instincts saved her life. Somewhere in her DNA, written by thousands of years of Siberian winters, lay genetic memory that modern life should have erased. While other dogs would have panicked, Maya tapped into something ancient, learning to wait, to conserve, to trust survival strategies older than civilization. Within hours, Maya is walking around the clinic with her tail wagging, soliciting treats from staff who can't stop staring. Word spreads like wildfire through social media and news outlets. The impossible dog, who survived 6 hours under ice, becomes a sensation touching something deep in the human psyche: the need to believe love can overcome physics. Scientists arrive from universities across North America, calling it the Maya phenomenon. They want to understand how Maya's body slowed itself just enough to survive without crossing into death. But for Jack, the science matters less than the transformation in his chest. His relationship with Maya has evolved beyond owner and pet into something sacred. Their daily routines carry new weight. Morning coffee tastes different when shared with a miracle. Evening walks hold reverence that makes Jack notice details he missed before. How Maya's ears twitch at unheard sounds. How she pauses at scents written in languages he'll never understand. The story reaches beyond Alaska's borders. Emails pour in from pet owners who've lost animals, rescue workers carrying the weight of failures, children needing to believe the impossible becomes possible. Maya's survival becomes a beacon for anyone who's loved something enough to refuse surrender when logic demanded it. 3 months later, Jack and Maya return to the same lake. As they approach the shore, Jack's heart spikes with muscle memory, but Maya seems different, more aware, more careful, but not afraid. She's learned without being broken. She runs across the reformed ice with the same joy that nearly killed her, but her movements carry new consciousness. When she reaches the spot where she disappeared, she stops completely, nose lifting to sample the air. Then she turns back toward Jack, those brilliant blue eyes holding depths that weren't there before. In that look, Jack sees the entire journey, the terror, the impossible hope, the moment everything changed. Maya trots back to his side, pressing her warm body against his legs in their new ritual. They stand together at the lake's edge, two survivors who've learned that some bonds run deeper than the rational world acknowledges. Above them, the aurora borealis begins its nightly dance across the Alaskan sky, painting darkness with colors that shouldn't exist but do anyway. Just like the story they've become part of. Just like the love that brought them both back from the edge of losing everything that mattered most. Maya's story isn't just about one dog's survival. It's proof that the wisdom of our ancestors lives within us, waiting for the moment we need it most. In our modern world, we've forgotten that we're still wild creatures at heart, equipped with instincts we've barely begun to understand. The next time you face something impossible, remember Maya. Sometimes the answer isn't to fight harder. Sometimes it's to find your air pocket, to trust your instincts, to wait for rescue with patience instead of panic. We all have deeper reserves of strength than we realize. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We share incredible stories of survival and hope every week. In the comments, tell us about a time when instinct saved you or someone you love. And please share this video. Maya's story deserves to inspire others who might be fighting their own impossible battles. Next week, we're covering another story that will challenge everything you think you know about the bond between humans and animals. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.